Hi, my name is Tanya McLeod, and today I'm going to be talking to you about communicating non-defensively. After listening to this presentation, I hope that you will be able to recognize the signs of defensive behavior and learn the steps to take to communicate in a more non-defensive way. Learning the signs of defensive communication can help people to learn the necessary steps to be able to communicate more non-defensively with others. So communicating non-defensively is key to personal and work relationships. Learning the signs of defensive communication and the steps that a person can take to avoid it are crucial to communicating effectively. During the next several minutes, I will explain signs of defensive behavior, types of common defensive strategies that we all have, and how to take certain steps to communicate in a more non-defensive way in our conversations with others. Warning signs of defensive communication come in the forms of verbal or nonverbal cues. How many times have you entered a conversation with someone and their arms are crossed, or maybe they're yawning, or maybe they're up in your face? These are all warning signs of defensive communication that we all need to be aware of. So what type of verbal and nonverbal cues suggest defensive behavior? For verbal cues, your tone of voice is a dead giveaway if someone is trying to communicate with a defensive tone toward you. Their choice of language, their passive-aggressive type of behavior. For nonverbal cues, their body language is a strong warning sign. Like I said, if their arms are crossed, their facial expressions, if they're frowning at you, if they seem to be real tense, their eye movements, are they glaring at you? Maybe they're staring at you, looking all around. The proximity of closeness to you, do they appear to be in your face, maybe puffing out their chest, kind of leaning in towards you? And dress and appearance also can maybe be a sign of defensive behavior. So what exactly is your body language or hidden language, nonverbal behavior, saying about you? If you come up to somebody and your hands are in your pockets, maybe like this picture on the screen suggests, that sometimes can maybe be perceived by people that you're hiding things. If you're confident, you're standing tall, you have a smile on your face, your shoulders are broad. If you're insecure, you may have a confused look on your face maybe. If you have a smirk, that can suggest that you're lying, not being truthful about what you're saying. If you're nervous, your hands on your hips, your arms crossed, all those things can suggest defensive behavior. So not only do you want to look for these signs in the people that you're talking to, but you also want to be aware of these communication signs of yourself. So common defensive strategies when someone is appearing to have defensive behavior towards us. Sometimes we tend to accept the blame or accusation. How many times has someone come to you and said, "Hey, how come you didn't do this?" And you just simply say, "I'm sorry, I won't let it happen again," even if it's not true, or even if you know that it's not accurate. You're just accepting the blame because that you won't want to deal with a confrontation or the defensive type of behavior that they are giving to you. Blaming others. If someone says, "Hey, I want to know why you didn't have this report done on time today," we might say, "Well, that's because Tina, she didn't have her portion done in time for me to get mine done." Blaming others is a very common defensive strategy. Maybe not in all of us, but I'm sure from time to time, there's been a lot of us that have blamed others for something that we didn't end up getting done in time. Keeping the peace. This means that when you give in to something that you initially were opposed or that you did not like, but you keep the peace per se by just simply going along with the flow, going along with what the rest of the group wants or what the other person thinks, because you just don't want to be in that type of defensive atmosphere. When you're learning to deal with defensive communication in the workplace, I really love this picture that is on the screen with the stop sign because it is 100% accurate. So if someone comes at you with defensive behavior in the workplace, you really need to stop. You need to stop and think about what they're saying, why are they appearing to be defensive, and what is making you want to react with defensive behavior towards them. Observe the situation. What's going on? Is there maybe more to the situation than what appears to be right in the present? So think about areas you are sensitive about. What tends to make you react in a defensive way? Once you recognize these signs, then you can learn to interrupt your behavior when you sense yourself starting to act defensively. You need to stop and analyze the situation, but most importantly, once you have a grasp of the situation at hand, you need to offer solutions and alternatives. Maybe you didn't get an assignment done because someone else didn't have their work done, but you should probably try to offer solutions and alternatives so that that situation can be avoided in the near future. In our personal lives, we all have experienced defensive communication, whether it be from a child, a family member, a significant other, your spouse, or a friend, but we all have had someone in our personal lives come at us with defensive behavior. The first step that we need to take when this happens is to paraphrase. You want to make sure that you understand exactly what that person is saying to you. So if your spouse comes to you and they're upset about something, then once they're done explaining, you need to paraphrase that back to them to make sure that you have a clear understanding of what they're trying to say. Once this is done, you need to find truth in what they've said. You might not always agree with what they're saying, but a lot of times if you stop and think about it, and put the shoe on the other foot, you probably can find some truth in your behavior as to why they reacted or are coming at you the way that they are. Once this is done, you need to validate the truth, and you need to validate that you understand your actions, you understand your behavior, and though you might not agree with all of it, you understand that it's an issue and it's something that you maybe need to work on. After that, you can offer solutions. Just like in the workplace, we also can offer solutions in our personal lives. Maybe we can say, hey, if you help me out a little bit more around the house, I might not get so upset. So maybe on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you can do these chores, and on Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe Saturdays, I'll do these other chores. Offer solutions to anybody in your personal life to try to avoid defensive communication in the future. But most importantly, you always want to thank the other person. And this is really important because although you might not always agree with what they say, you really should thank them for having the courage and the strength and for caring enough to bring that behavior to your attention, because if you're not aware of it, then you can't fix it. So some key points and some takeaways from this presentation on communicating non-defensively. The first step is to recognize your own defensive behavior. You want to recognize what are your sensitivities, what are your weaknesses, what are the types of things that people do that cause you to react in a defensive manner. And this will help you to learn what triggers your own defensive behavior so that you can notice it right away and you can decide which steps you need to take and which steps work best for you. Each steps might vary depending on the type of communication, the person that you're talking to, whether it's in your personal life, whether it's in your work life. But fixing defensive behavior always starts with you. I really hope that you enjoyed this presentation. I picked this topic because it really hits home with me. I have a tendency to communicate defensively, and if someone approaches a conversation with me defensively, then I tend to react in a defensive manner immediately. Learning about this topic and studying this topic and learning steps that I can take have really helped me to analyze myself, take a look at myself internally on what causes me to act the way I do. I really look forward to putting this useful information and applying it to my personal life, and most importantly, my work life. Defensive communication can make or break so many of our relationships, and I hope that you all can take these steps and learn to create a better atmosphere communication-wise with those all around you. Thank you.